Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Marcus McCoy. I'm your host, Marcus McCoy, and today this is a special edition of Real Talk with Marcus McCoy, as we're going to be discussing building bridges between the FBI and the community. And joining us, I have Supervisory Special Agent Nichole Adams. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Marcus. I appreciate that.
Definitely thank you for taking your time for being here. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, I'm Nichole Adams. I'm with the FBI here in El Paso. I've been with the FBI, actually, this is going to be 27 years. So,
oh, wow. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I started in 1996. This is something I've always wanted to do. And I don't know, I met with one of your colleagues before, and I explained to him, and I'll explain again to your listeners and your readers and your watchers, that when I was 6 years old, I saw a show on TV. I was watching it with my mom. And I think it was Hill Street Blues. I don't know, but it was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And I remember someone wearing like this dark blue jacket with the FBI lettering on it. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Okay.
So, went off to college, got a degree in criminal justice. And then 1995, I submitted my application. 1996, I was selected for a covert program, and the rest is history.
Oh, that is awesome. That's awesome. Well, I definitely want to thank you for what you do for the community. Protecting and serving for those who need it is definitely appreciated.
Thank you.
And just in listening to you, we have something in common. I actually have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice as well, so we share that.
Well, good then. I'm sure my degree came way before yours. I'm probably a lot older, but
but don't let the smooth taste fool you.
All right then.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So in an effort to continue building a relationship, specifically with the Black demographic, right? What do you believe are the key factors in bringing that vision to life?
Well, first of all, the key factors, I think we have to be actionable. Law enforcement, FBI, pretty much we're in the same group. Mm-hmm. But our steps have to be actionable. We have to treat people with respect. I think that is the problem. I've seen videos, you've seen videos where police officers pull up on people, right, wrong, and they just come out just very disrespectful.
Absolutely.
And once I finish answering your question, I'll give you a small interaction that I have when I was in the New Orleans office. I was in the New Orleans FBI office for 9 years, and something, just a regular stop, just got really out of hand. And just like I say about the disrespect of people. Also, too, we have to identify areas that have the highest level of trauma, and also gun violence. That's one of the things that we have to do. We have to send co-responders out. I think that would help the communities. Co-responders meaning, like, if you know someone is having a mental health crisis, and if your officers have not been trained to deal with someone that's had a mental health crisis, maybe now we should send someone out to sort of de-escalate the situation. Because sometimes when people are off their medications and they're doing things that, maybe odd, or maybe officers may think is erratic, it's just because, they need, maybe like if you have autism, you may need a toy or something like that to sort of, calm you down, or medication. So we definitely have to send out either more trained officers, and also potentially co-responders. Also, we have to analyze history of certain officers. There are some, I'm not going to say all, because you've got some good folks out there, and I think I'm one of those good people that put my life on the line and try to help the public, the community. However, let's keep it 100, Marcus. There are some rogue cops out there.
Absolutely.
And they terrorize the community. And not only that, when I say training, they haven't been trained. They have not been held accountable for their actions, and we keep putting them back in the community when we need to go after them, and folks like that need to be arrested and taken off the force. Okay. So like I said, we have to be actionable when we're dealing with the community.
Okay. Now you said something that I kind of want to double back on, because it brings up another great point. So why do you feel like it's important to have that relationship between law enforcement and the community?
Well, it's imperative, because that is the building block. If you are being an officer, hopefully you're protecting and serving the community. If if you are scared of the people you serve, I'm not saying there are some bad actors out here that will take your life. I'm not saying that. But if you are particularly fearful of a demographic, whether it's Black, whether it's Hispanic, maybe you should find a different line of work. Because when you come into a situation or you come into an environment where it's predominantly whatever, whether it's predominantly white, predominantly Black, and you're too fearful to engage and communicate respectfully with the people, you automatically now you go to an escalated avenue where you're pulling your gun when it's not even necessary. So that's why I'm saying that we as the community, just first of all, as law enforcement, is this the job for you? If it's not, then like I say, figure out and find another avenue or find another career option.
Okay. But besides, all right, so obviously there's a lot of meetings that happen at the local level in the city and things of that nature.
Yes.
But besides meetings, what can local leaders do to become more involved?
Well, first of all, invite us out to your events. I think people don't realize if you, and I can only speak for the FBI, but I'm sure some of my other colleagues at local police departments, if you invite us out, we're going to come. You can even ask like Monica Tucker. We've been to a lot of events. As a matter of fact, I went to, I'm going to get this name right because I don't want to mess up Bishop May's church.
Absolutely.
I don't want to offend him. Well, Word of Life Ministries, I've been there for food drives. I've been there to help clean up. They were having a summer program just last summer and they needed some laptops. No one knew. I just went down there and got them a laptop. You know, I didn't need any fanfare, but this is what the community is about. So call us out. We'll come visit. And not only that, if you see a law enforcement event, you come, the community can come to those law enforcement events and we can have a chance to have a conversation, and not just a conversation about what's bad, but also about what's good. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And let's communicate.
Okay. How can media and other outlets assist the FBI when it comes to making the public aware about safety and situational awareness?
Well, first of all, you can call our office. I think people don't realize we have a duty agent, an FBI duty agent on call 24 hours, 7 days a week. That's one call. You can come by if you have a complaint. Now, granted, it has to be a federal nexus. You can't come by and say, hey, my mail wasn't delivered. That's postal, you know, it's postal service.
Gotcha.
But it definitely has to have a federal nexus. Second of all, we have something called ic3.gov. It's pretty much our internet, it's our internet crime complaint center. So if you want to make a complaint online, you can go to that ic3.gov and pretty much type it in. We also, you can check on our FBI Twitter. You can do check FBI Instagram. Now, also too, Marcus, this doesn't happen too often, but there's been a few times where I've been to people's home. I mean, we don't do house calls, but let's say, for instance, you have an extenuating circumstances. Probably a couple of months ago, a woman was getting some threats. She was an elderly woman, and she had vision issues, and she couldn't see, so she couldn't drive to come to our office and make that complaint. And also, like I said, visually impaired, she couldn't go on the internet. The person were making threats to her cell phone, and like I said, being elderly, she didn't know how to operate that particular cell phone. So my partner and I, what we did, we drove 40 minutes to her house to get her complaint. Now, like I say, that don't happen too often, but again, I'm here to help the public. And actually, when we got there, those were legitimate threats on her phone of causing her harm. Oh, so okay. You got pretty much a lot, like I said, a lot of 4 avenues. You can call us, you can come by, you can do the ic3.gov, or like I say, in limited cases, we'll come to your house.
That is great. So first of all, I want to say that that's great that you know, people like yourself are going the extra mile to ensure that the citizens are getting their needs met, because I think a lot of times maybe that's maybe not be at the forefront of some law enforcement agents' mind, but I'm glad to see that you are making sure that it happens. Can you tell us any maybe like an experience that you had or you've had in the past that would kind of speak to what that community engagement looks like, and how we, I know I talked about building the bridge earlier, but just maybe like some experiences that you've had in your career that people can kind of look back on and say, well, we could use this as a blueprint to get where we're going.
Absolutely. Let me tell you this. Like I say, I've been in the FBI almost 27 years. I was in the New Orleans. This is my 6th office, so let me caveat that. 6th office, but I was in New Orleans for 9 years. And at one point, certain schools in New Orleans were designated for kids that were either kicked out of high school and they were not able to return to regular high school. So now they were in these sort of like disciplinary schools. And this particular disciplinary school was predominantly Black. And I would go to their class every Wednesday for it was probably for like 9 weeks as their civics teacher or instructor for that hour block. And what we did was, so when I first came in, and I always ask the kids this, and they range from 9th grade to pretty much 12th grade. And it was a group of young ladies. Mm-hmm. And I asked them, hey, what do you guys think I do? And they couldn't figure it out, so that's the fun part.
Right.
So of course I pull out my bulletproof vest, I got my handcuffs, and I always tell my kids, not my real kids, but also my adoptive kids that were in that particular class. These handcuffs are not for you. And that's what we have to implore to our young people. These handcuffs are just a tool to my job, just like this vest. Mm-hmm. So I want to put it in their minds early that just because I have handcuffs, I don't want you to automatically think you're a criminal. This is just a tool. So as we began to take this journey of me being their instructor, my job was I was their supervisor and they were my junior agents. And what we did from start to finish in that 9 weeks, we did an investigation. And it was something, there's some crazy things at the FBI work, but it was more of something that's mild and for their level. It was like a kidnapping, but no harm, or, I don't want anyone to think, oh, she's teaching them about kidnapping and it's violence. No, not that. And what they had to do, they had to think of all the tools that we may use to get that child back to their parents. So that means like going on the internet, tracking their phones, trying to figure out what the child looked like as far as a photo, any witnesses, looking at cameras. So that's what I wanted to do with our community, even though these kids were being sort of designated as quote unquote bad kids. I wanted to let them know that we can change the trajectory of their lives. And what I also wanted them to know is that, Marcus, I was born in Detroit. I was a kid in the crack epidemic, so I wouldn't have want anyone to sort of label me and then sort of take that ideal of me moving past all of, as people say, my badness in my community. Mm-hmm. And that's what I wanted to do. And hopefully during that interaction of that 9 weeks, I showed that to the kids. And the reason I say at least one of the kids came to me and she was like, I never thought about being the FBI. I'd never really seen the FBI, but I know that this is what I want to do. So even if I affected only one child during that 9 weeks, I've done my job. So I think that's how I'm trying to give back to the community. And I currently do that to the day. To the day, I do it for my kids, and I try to do it for any kids that want to pursue the FBI dream.
Yeah, that is awesome. So obviously, we could tell that you're very invested in your community, and
Absolutely.
I could just tell from that story that was one of those things that was rewarding for you. So in that, can you tell us what do you think for you personally? What is the most rewarding part of your job?
Wow, that's a good question. You get that like 5 seconds to ponder. What I think is that, first of all, let's see. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna keep it straight honest. What you're looking at is a unicorn, and the reason I say that, we are trying to get our numbers up in the FBI. But first of all, there are not a lot of Black female agents. Second of all, there's not a lot of Black supervisory special agents that are female. So, and that's what I mean about the unicorn. One of the things I like doing is when I walk into a room, I want kids to see that they're able to do what I'm able to do. Not just specifically FBI, but whatever you think your limits are, I want you to see that you can do and be whatever you want to be. And I know that sounds cliche, because I'm sure back in 1978, when I was 5 or 6 years old, somebody would have come to me and said, you'll never be an FBI agent. You get the heck out of here. And now I can say, well, I think you were a little wrong. So I want them to see that dream and go for that dream. Even if it's like, even if I could sort of be the building block for them to pursue that.
That is definitely a very positive message to put out there in the atmosphere. I definitely believe in that too. Mm-hmm. In that we must always be the example or the precedence for
Absolutely
the young people coming behind us, understanding that, hey, look, you determine your success and you determine what your ceiling is. Nobody else can do that for you but you.
And I think that what the other thing is, they see what I am now. They don't realize sometimes kids have to see that where you started from. Mm-hmm. And you figure, oh no, well, she's already established. They don't realize the kid who came from the poor community or the drug infested areas in Detroit, and I just climbed. Mm-hmm. So even if you are in a certain situation or that you perceive as damage or you feel as though you can't get out of, there is light at the end of the tunnel. So I want the kids and the people, not just kids, but people who may be in a bad spot to realize there are things that are out there and you can pursue those. So.
Is there anything else that you that you could leave with us or tell the people listening that you feel like would further enhance that relationship between law enforcement and the community?
Absolutely. We always hear this, and my son, I have 4 kids. My son is the youngest. He's 16, and I know he's joking when he says this, but he's always saying, "Snitches get stitches, Mom. Snitches get stitches." And he's saying it jokingly, but I know that that's something within the community that people say. What I would like to instill is, listen, disregard that nonsense. Mm-hmm. If you know someone who has committed a crime or has caused harm, we need to report that. Now, I get it. Sometimes reporting that could cause backlash, but I tell you this, if you come to the FBI, we'll try to protect your identity. We can put you down as somebody that's confidential. So what I want people to do is get that narrative out of your head, because I tell you this, if someone in your family or my family was hurt, when we call the police or FBI, we want them to help. We don't want to hear like, okay, I can't help you because snitches get stitches. Mm-hmm. Let somebody, a 5-year-old, get kidnapped. We want everybody in the world to be looking for that 5-year-old. So if you know information and a crime has occurred, I want people to report that. Because not only that, if you have some dangerous criminal that's in the community, it's best to get them off the streets so it can be safer for everybody else within that community.
Absolutely. So do you think people, all right, like you mentioned your son saying the comment about snitches get stitches, and I understand he was saying it jokingly, but do you feel like people don't report things because of how the fear of how they might be judged? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because they want to keep it real. They don't want to seem like a snitch. But in the end, sometimes what happens, that same person you didn't report on 2 years ago may be the same person that take your life, months down the road, or take a loved one. If that person is running amok, rogue, sometimes, people always say, I got to mind my business. Well, if you're not protecting the community, then who? If everybody have the mantra, mind my business, I'm going to keep it real. Mm-hmm. Now you have chaos. And then you want the police to come untangle all this chaos, but we need help to untangle this chaos. So like I said before, if you know of some crime that has happened and violence is, running amok on your streets, we need your help. Because most of our crimes are solved by citizens reporting information, giving us those tidbits that we didn't know about, or saying, hey, you know what, you need to go see Billy Bob. Billy Bob knows about this, and then we can start to, pursue investigative actions.
Absolutely. So you made me think about this too. So I remember when I was growing up, I grew up in an area where the community, in a sense, basically policed itself. You had, older men and women that would, basically be guiding the youth, and, hey, look, if you did something wrong, you were gonna have to go see this person, or this person would tell your parents. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of the issues we're having today, we kind of gotten away from that, so to speak. So I feel like we can get back to that where the community is policing itself with the assistance of the local law enforcement mm-hmm. agents. Then it would make for a better system, because one, you have the citizen taking stake and ownership in the place they live, but then they're also communicating with local law enforcement agents. Then you guys and men and women know what's going on, and I think that would be great.
I also think that's true, and that's funny you say that, because I'll tell you a quick story. When I was a kid, I had to be about 11 years old, and I was using bad language. Oh, the neighbor, Miss Harris, heard me cursing. She's like, Nichole. Well, they just call me Nikki. Nikki, you better watch your mouth. And I almost melted. Mm-hmm. She checked me right on the spot. And I was, in that time, you respect your elders. Nowadays, like I said, it goes circle back to respect. Some folks are so disrespectful, you can't tell them anything. Or if you try to, I only say check them because sometimes when you say check, it seems, aggressive, and we don't want that. But if you just try to lead them in the right direction, and if you say, hey, young man, that's not the appropriate language to be using, those kids will cuss you out. Then their mama will come and, talk disrespectful to you. So I do agree, we do need to get back to community, people just being respectful to one another. I think we have lost that. I still have a ray of hope that, sometimes some people are raised manually. And that's why I try to raise my kids. You be respectful. It's yes, sir, no, ma'am. You're not going to call you, and my son, he's not going to call you Marcus. He's going to call you Mr. Marcus, or Mr. McCoy, if you've been, introduced as that way. So I think we definitely need to go back to being respect. If we're showing respect to one another, I think that will bleed over to being respectful to our neighbors, being respectful to the community, being respectful to law enforcement, but also to circle back, law enforcement got to be respectful to us.
Great points. I definitely want to thank you for being on the show. Before we get out of here, is there anything you want to leave with the listeners that about this conversation we had that you want to convey to them as we draw to a close?
Absolutely. I'll re-emphasize that if you want us out, FBI, including myself, if you want us to come out to a community event, all you have to do is just ask. We are willing to come out. We are willing to talk to the communities. I love still going to the schools and speaking with the children, letting them know how I got to where I've gotten to. And like I say, just call and ask.
Can you tell us about the initiative that the FBI is working with the Black Roundtable with?
Absolutely. The Black Roundtable is a FBI El Paso initiative with Monica Tucker. And what we're doing is we're bringing folks from the community to have conversations with the FBI. That is spearheaded by our special agent in charge, Jeff Downey. Now, our next meeting will be April 25th at 6:30 p.m. And the way you can, if you want to be involved, come sign up. And I'll give you guys the email address. That email address is monica@blackelpasovoice.com. I'm going to say that again, Marcus. It's monica@blackelpasovoice.com. And come on out. You can meet me and meet the whole FBI team, and we'll love to hear from you guys.
Thank you. So again, I definitely want to thank you for coming on and sharing this wealth of knowledge. It is greatly appreciated. And for the people out there watching, I want to say I've actually attended the Black Roundtable initiative in partnership with the FBI, and it is definitely great. You learn some vital stuff that you don't get to see or hear about outside those walls. So I definitely invite you guys to come out. But until then, I would like to say that you guys need to get involved in the communities that you stay in. Make sure we're maintaining good relationships with the local law enforcement agents. I'm sure they'll do the same. And just get out and be involved and be active. And that, I think that's a really important and one of the main points that needs to be conveyed is we all need to work together. But until then, El Paso, until next time, it's been real.